All right, episode 12. Talking about week 11 of One Year No Excuses. Let's start with my checklist because we never hide from the checklist on this podcast. For my daily Bible reading, I got another partial. For prayer, unfortunately, again, we're 11 weeks in and I've still got another no. Carnivore, I'm giving myself a no, and it's all my fault. I caved and I ate some Easter marshmallow candies. That's straight up sugar. There is no gray area there. So, despite having a really strong carnivore week otherwise, I'm not going to give myself any credit for carnivore for this past week. For my book of the month, I did do a little bit of reading this week. My No Social Sunday, I did not have one. Studying for my AI engineering certification, yes. And podcast preparation, yes. So, yeah, a perfectly normal, non perfect week. Um, that's what I'm left with. Still, I'm not spiraling out of control and I'm continuing to make progress. So I fasted Monday, but this week I also fasted on Tuesday. So I had my reset, but then I slipped up and had the Easter sweets. And then I just got right back on track um, with the very next meal. I'm not going to make it into a drama. Um, I didn't say I'll start over next week. I just said next decision. And that's what I want you to get in the habit of doing too. Okay, well, that leads into what I want to talk about today, and that is that motivation is unreliable. You heard me correctly. Actually, I'll say it stronger than that. If you're depending on motivation, you're setting yourself up to fail. Seriously. I know that sounds harsh because motivation is what everybody talks about. We watch the motivational videos, we read the motivational quotes, we listen to motivational speeches. But if motivation actually worked the way people think it does, most people wouldn't be stuck where they're at. And I think here's the issue. So, motivation really is nothing more or less than an emotion, it's a feeling, and feelings are inconsistent. You can't control when you feel motivated. You don't wake up every morning feeling fired up and ready to go. Some days you might, but most days you probably don't. Um, I believe there's some research behind this from the American Psychological Association. Basically says that behavior change that relies purely on willpower or emotional states tends to break down quickly because our emotional states fluctuate. Shocker. But that's real life, folks. Nobody quits because they ran out of information. They quit because they ran out of motivation. And when motivation drops, if that's all you've got, you stop. I have been through that time and time again, as I'm sure many of you have, until this year when I became determined to do something about it. Now, historically, I'd mess up once and then I'd think, well, I'll start fresh next week. But the I'll start never happened. And one bad decision turned into a bad day and then a bad week. And then it turned into I forgot I had a plan. Well, I think here's what I'm starting to experience now. Habits are absolutely stronger than motivation. Habits don't care how you feel. They don't need you to be excited, but they are challenging to develop. That's where consistency, not motivation, does the work. So there's a concept popularized by James Clear, and whether you've read his work or not, the idea is pretty simple. You don't rise to the level of your goals; you fall to the level of your systems. And if your systems are, drumroll please, your habits, well, that's what's changing for me. I have no desire to be perfect. I mean, I do, don't we all? But I'm a realist, and it's not likely I'll ever have a perfect week. Certainly not 2 weeks in a row. My motivation isn't changing. I still have it. I don't often feel it, but my motivation is still present. And when I'm referring to my motivation there, I'm referring to the need I have to accomplish these goals. Uh, just repetition, that's my habits. I fast on Monday, whether I feel like it or not. I record this podcast whether I feel like it or not. I'm working on my AI certification whether I feel like it or not. And even when I mess up, like I did with the marshmallows, I don't abandon my system. I just return to it. That's the whole game. Um, there's also some research from the University of London shows that habit formation is not about perfection. It's about consistency over time. Missing once doesn't break a habit, whereas quitting does. So let that sink in for a minute. Missing once doesn't matter, but quitting does. Hmm. So look, you don't have a motivational problem. I don't think any of us really do. We have a systems problem. Maybe it's even deeper than that. You're waiting to feel like it before you act on it. That's a little backwards because action creates momentum and momentum builds discipline. And then discipline builds, you guessed it, habits. And then habits replace the need for motivation. So if you sit around waiting to feel ready, you'll stay stuck. And I get it because that's comfortable. It gives you an excuse. I'll start when I'm more motivated, but you won't. Or you might, but you'll quickly quit because that moment rarely comes the way you think it will. Um, even with this week, it didn't look great on paper, but it was better in reality because I didn't quit and I'm still seeing progress. I reset with fasting, I do it every week. I got back on track immediately. I relaunched my 1 year no excuses TikTok account as Carnivore Chris. The TikTok shift is something I haven't spoken much about, but I will in the near future because that's another system I'm building right now. Recipes, movement, progress updates, and I've got a plan to grow that channel, but I'll save that for another episode. My point is, I'm not relying on motivation to do any of this because had I done that, I'd still be sitting at 270 plus pounds watching TV instead of learning something new and sitting stagnant in my relationship with God, among other things. So here's what I'm going to leave you with: stop chasing motivation and start building habits, even small ones. In fact, especially small ones, because those are the ones that actually stick. And next time you mess up, and you will, don't restart next week. Don't restart tomorrow. Restart with your next decision because that's how you're going to win. Y'all have a great day. I'll see you next week.